All right, everybody. Today we're going to start on maritime-based trade routes. And maritime just means sea-based. And we're going to start on the most important of the sea-based trade routes, which is the Indian Ocean. The Indian Ocean trade route is going to connect 6 different world regions. It's going to connect East Asia, Southeast Asia, South Asia, the Middle East, North Africa, and East Africa. So there's lots of different groups of people from lots of different ethnicities trading lots of different trade goods on this trade route. And it's going to have a lot of things in common with the land-based trade routes, but they're also going to have some things that are going to make them unique. So let's take a look real quick. All right, so these are the world regions that are going to be connected by this one trade route. After the Silk Road, the Indian Ocean is the most important trade route in world history by far, and it's not really even close. Now, just like with land-based trade routes, they're going to sell luxury goods, goods that retain value, goods that are worth all the danger and risk that the merchants who are engaged in the trade take. And all the trade goods that come from each of the world regions will continue to be traded in this period. However, on top of that, you're going to see heavier bulk goods traded in the Indian Ocean. You can't put a lot of iron on the back of a camel, but you can put a lot of iron in the bows of a ship to trade. So one of the things you're going to see is heavier bulk goods can be traded by ship. Some examples of this: East Asian iron, Chinese iron is going to be traded globally. Also, East African slaves and East African lumber are going to be traded long distances on the Silk Road. Like the land-based trade routes, it spread luxury goods, it spread culture, just like with the land-based trade routes. Anywhere that you see trade in the Indian Ocean, you're going to see Muslim merchants participating in the trade. Spread of new technologies, language. You're going to see new cities emerge on these trade routes on the coast. An example of this is Kilwa. Kilwa is an example of one of the Swahili city-states, and this is an example of a new city that has opened up as a result of trade. Now, trade is open, safe, and not governed in the Indian Ocean. You don't have groups of people trying to control the ocean and dominate the ocean. You don't have one group of people attacking others trying to maintain and gain control of it. In general, it's open, it's safe, and it's free, and anyone could trade on it. Now, an interesting thing to stop and think about: how do you actually trade in the Indian Ocean? How do you get from, say, East Africa to India? Well, if it's the wind, then the question is, how would you get home? And what makes trade possible in the Indian Ocean is a unique wind pattern called the monsoon winds. The monsoon winds blow seasonally. One portion of the year they blow from west to east, and then in the later half of the year, the winds will change. So all you have to do if you're a merchant is you're in Africa is you wait for the winds to blow east, take your goods to the Middle East, or take your goods to Southeast Asia or South Asia or even East Asia. Trade your goods, and then you just stay put for a few months. And then ultimately the winds will change and they will blow you back in the original direction that you were coming from. Knowledge of the monsoon winds makes trade possible on the Indian Ocean. And this is going to allow merchants to travel in both directions annually. Some just random stuff we need. We've talked about Kilwa. This is an example of a Swahili city-state that thrived in East Africa. Just like with the land-based trade routes, sea-based technologies will be created that will help facilitate trade. These include the compass, the astrolabe. The astrolabe is a technology that helps you to realize, let me fix that. That helps you realize where you are in relationship to certain stars. And this is going to be one of the things that makes sea-based trade possible. The lateen sail. The lateen sail is a special triangulated sail that's designed to catch more wind. I'm going to show you an example of that in just a second. And new types of ships, the Middle Eastern dhow and the Chinese yonk. Both of these will be examples of new ships that will help facilitate trade in the Indian Ocean. This right here is a modern day example of a dhow. This type of ship has been used in the Indian Ocean primarily by Muslim merchants for over 1,000 years now. And you'll see this unique triangulated sail. That's a lateen. That's the type of sail you would have seen with dhows, and it's designed to catch a maximum amount of wind, and this helps facilitate trade. The biggest trade ships at this time period come from China. That shouldn't surprise you since they're the biggest, most powerful, most advanced civilization. Song Dynasty ships called yonks have the capacity to trade long distances and incredible amounts of goods in one ship. There are some yonks that approach being half a football field in size. These ships can be enormous, and you can carry an enormous amount of goods on these two types of ships. Just like on the land-based land-based trade routes, you're going to see diasporic communities emerge on the sea-based trade routes. These territories in green are the regions where Islam was not the dominant set of religious beliefs, but you would have seen Muslim diasporic communities working in cities. You would have also seen them in China. I do not know why this is not included on that. Short of this might just be about the Indian Ocean portions of it. But you're going to see lots of Muslim diasporic communities on both land-based trade routes and sea-based trade routes outside of the traditional Muslim parts of the world. And that will help facilitate ship trade. Now, that's the land-based stuff. And I need to do a review because starting tomorrow, we're going to hit something that's going to change everything. Everything that we've learned up to this part of the class period is basically how the world was right at the start of this period in 1200. Generally speaking, in Afro-Eurasia, it was a time of empires that were maximizing resources, most importantly food, engaging in long distance trade. And it was generally a time period of peace and prosperity. These empires are primarily agricultural societies. Everything is based on the ability to produce enough food to feed everybody. However, there is a second type of group of people in the world, and these are the pastoral communities. Pastoral communities are your nomads in Afro-Eurasia. These are the groups of people who live in the empty spaces between the big civilizations and the big empires. Pastoral communities provide for themselves by living in small bands of people that produce their food by raising animals. That's where we get the term from, because they're constantly in search of pastures. They have less complex forms of government, and since they live in the gaps between the big civilizations, oftentimes they help facilitate trade from one world region to another. However, they can also get aggressive when they see weakness, when they see vulnerability. It's not unprecedented for them to turn into raiders and looters as well. So this group of people is out there, and they have a very uneasy relationship with the big civilizations and empires of this period. If you're going to trade from the Middle East to China, you would have had to go through territory controlled by pastoral communities. So they were a part of the world in this time period. Now, one group of people who are a group of nomadic pastoralists that I've already alluded to are the Turks. The Turks start off in Central Asia. They were pastoral nomads, And they're going to start to migrate all over Asia. By this time period, they have actually migrated into the Abbasid Caliphate. The leaders of the Abbasid Caliphate have now, that leadership, the office of the Caliph itself, is now controlled by Turkish migrants. Turkish migrants who had converted to Islam had swooped into India where they saw vulnerability, and they're the ones who are going to build the Delhi Sultanate. So know that these groups of people are out there, and know that sometimes they will attack and take over some of the more established big picture civilizations. In our next class period, we're going to talk about the most important group of pastoral nomads of all time who are going to legitimately change the world and rock everything we've looked at. But for right now, just know that one group of pastoral nomads are the Turks, who migrated into the Middle East and north and the northern part of South Asia, originally in pursuit of new pasture lands, but eventually they're going to gain control of some political states that they're either going to gain control of or start, like with the Delhi Sultanate. All right, that's going to do it for today. Stay on, and I'll give you your work for the day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.